Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity, community service, volunteering, and just spreading positivity. We're all about the positivity here on the show, and with me today, I've got a very special guest. He is a fourth-generation wrestler, comes from a wrestling family, and just you're in for a treat if you love Tennessee wrestling, especially East Tennessee wrestling. The one and only AJ Cazana is here with me today. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Thank you for coming on here.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's my
I'm
pleasure.
not quite bright-eyed, bushy-tailed yet, but I'm getting there, so we'll be okay.
You're fourth generation. Is that right?
Depends on who you ask. So, technically, yes. My grandmother never wrestled. She would have been part of the Cazana family, but she did sell tickets and work in the financing office of John Cazana Promotions at the TV studio and everything. So, could be fourth generation, could be third generation. Just who knows, dude? I'm just a big old boy that likes to wrestle. That's all I know.
Tell me about some of the history of wrestling in Knoxville.
Well, Knoxville dates back as far as I know. My dad's the historian in our family, but my grandfather came over in was it 1903, something around those times. Great grandfather, excuse me, and he started wrestling in 1933. Got seen at a gym. Now I couldn't tell you how Knoxville was before that. To me, Knoxville wrestling doesn't exist before that. Um, he started promoting around the 50s. I want to say mid to late 50s. Promoted all the way up through the 70s. Rancho Howie Park Fairgrounds, where they'd put 3 to 5 thousand people every Wednesday night. The amphitheater over there, man, it's a beautiful place. But Knoxville wrestling thrived at that time period under the NWA and under John Cazana Promotions. He sold to the Fullers. The Fullers came in and ran a good show, good tight ship. And then I want to say, don't quote me on this one, but I'm wanting to say the Fullers sold to Smoky Mountain, Jim Cornette at the time. So um, that would have been, the 90s, right around that time, the early to late 90s. And then, of course, Smoky Mountain crumbled. And then you've got all these bud shows that decide to run Knoxville and call themselves professional wrestling companies. And there's a lot of people that I could bash and tell you about that honestly don't deserve the time of day. So, Knoxville wrestling has been on the downturn for a while. There's been a couple good promotions that come in here. KFW's up here in Sevierville. I like the Henrys, Kenzie Page, Kylie Page. Their dad ran it for the longest time, and um, there's what else is in Knoxville? I know Next Gen's in Knoxville. They run once every like 3 months. They bring a lot of names in and stuff, and then NWA's come in and Joe Cazana Promotions has come in.
Now, as far as your career, how you got started, because you came from a background of wrestling, wrestlers, people in the business, what can you tell me about your first exposure was to professional wrestling?
My first memory of professional wrestling was watching my dad get hit over the head with a trash can. Like I was 4 or 5 years old and sitting in the crowd with Mr. Fuji. And my dad was in some kind of match. Couldn't tell you what kind, but I know he got hit over the head with the trash can. Trash can got put on, and up popped me going to save my daddy. And Mr. Fuji had to grab me as I was walking away because my mom, I don't know if she was sitting in front of me and I was sitting behind her with Mr. Fuji, but he grabbed me as I was walking away and he turned me around and he said, "Boy, we need to have a talk." So we had a talk after the show. But that was my first experience with professional wrestling. And of course, growing up, my dad was in and out of it. And then, I watched it on TV. The WWE Attitude Era was thriving. The Monday Night Wars, um, my golden age of professional wrestling. And it was never really pressed on me to get into it. Nobody ever really said, "Hey, you're going to be a wrestler," or I never had any intentions on doing it. It's got my dad had his retirement match, his first of what seems like five now. But he had a match, and he got me and my little brother involved, and as simple as making a run in and doing a hip toss. And and I just got the itch because I'd played football my whole life. I played at the University of Tennessee, where I got to run through the Power T in front of 96,000 people, and like that high and that adrenaline and that just the rush that you got from that. Professional wrestling's the closest thing I've gotten to it. Going out and performing in front of a bigger crowd, going out and performing in front of anybody. Um, so I kind of got into it by accident, and I got into it a little late and trained with Dr. Tom, and it was 3 years ago now, and it's been lights out since. So we're doing all right.
Let's switch gears and talk about the stuff you do outside of the ring. What kind of charity work have you done outside of wrestling? What organizations have you partnered up with?
So wrestling consumes most of my life. I do have a small part-time job that I supplement money from to help me go off grid faster. But the most of my stuff is involved around wrestling. So whether it's going and working shows and donating my time or whatever for those, we do a lot of benefits. I've been out. One of my favorite things that I've done, man, I went out with Gats Entertainment out in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's a group of us went out, and Jeremy Beck is as far as I know, is the owner and proprietor of Gats Entertainment, and this man has not made a dime off any of his charity events, which is good. He's actually lost money, he's what he tells me, and it's he doesn't do it to make money, and that's good. We did Mascot Mania, and then I think he called it Mascot Rumble this past year, where we had 30 special needs kids, physical and mental disabilities. They came. We had a six-man tag match to start the show, and then they had a moment where they all signed a contract at the beginning of the day to be professional wrestlers for a day.
Mm.
So we had the locker room out there. The kids would get called out. They would pick a wrestler to help them wrestle a mascot, and so that was a lot of fun. And then we did the Mascot Mania Bowl, where we take 30 mascots and put them against middle school boys, is like eighth and ninth grade boys, and then they had a like high school girls football team
Mm-hmm.
that was like the area's best together. And the mascots, they went out and um, played a game of football, and I got to officiate that, and that was a lot of fun. Um, with the NWA, we do a lot of children's hospital visits, and man, like it's brutal, but at the same time, it's rewarding. Like it's hard to go in, and I'm not going to cry, but I'm not tear up a little bit. It's hard to go into some of these rooms knowing that some of these kids haven't made it out, and then it's as equally rewarding. We were in Coalfield, and this kid, God, I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but Carrie would know, and they had gone to see him at the Children's Hospital here in Knoxville, and he'd been like his cancer was in remission, and he was coming back from fighting it, and they came to the show, and he's like, yeah, he's 6 months in remission. I'm doing great. He's moving around. He's at the show. He's been to a couple. He's watched all our stuff, and it's just like making you feel like you're making an impact in a kid's life. Granted, I'm probably not, but just showing up and just being willing to listen and talk and communicate with them, like life's going to be okay, and it puts a lot of life into perspective for us. Dude, I'm blessed beyond measure. Like I've got a great family, I've got great friends, I've got a great career in professional wrestling that is inevitably going to go up and up, and like knowing that if I can make the impact in somebody's life somewhere, then great. So those are most of the stuff that we did. Now I did do I coached middle school and high school football and wrestling at the
Oh,
school that I graduated from in Knoxville for about 10 years before I had to step away for wrestling. And the first couple and then the last were all voluntary, no money exchanged type things. And that was more. I wouldn't say that was very charitable, except for my soul. It's just good to be around
well,
football and
it's
wrestling.
something you did. It's something you did to for the good of
That's
your heart. Yes.
that's been the best thing. I love coaching and big fan of like instilling discipline in kids. And then what, like we would get together for football, especially we would get together in March. We'd go March, April, May, then get a week off, and then we go uh, through the summer where we'd work out 3-4 times a week.
Hmm.
And these are middle school kids, mind you. And then by the time football rolls around, we've got our structure set up, and they're out stretching themselves before practice. And then we did the Nick Saban's big on tucking your shirt in before you go to the weight room. We were doing drills, we're hitting the weight rooms, their shirts are tucked in. If I tell them to put their toes on a line, they put their toes on a line. If I put up like they put their heels on a line, they put their heels on. And it's rewarding to watch all that culminate and then watch them become self-policed and watch them hold each other accountable, and then some of that discipline ends up translating to like the classroom where they're doing, their teachers are telling them to do something and they do it, and it's like, well, this 12 to 14-year-old kid usually is a troublemaker, but now he's doing whatever. But it's those are always fun times when you get to see those kids grow. But dude, watching those kids grow, and then on the flip side, doing the charitable stuff with the children's hospitals and everything. And outside of those, man, I'm not very charitable. Now
Well, I
I'll leave a
think
good tip every once in a while. I'll go to church and tithe. I'll donate to causes that I need to donate to, and I feel a need to donate to. But man, like for me, if nobody's out there helping me find these things, I usually don't know that they exist. So uh, but we try to do a little bit here and there, and I look forward to doing more in 2024 as wrestling does pay more bills for me, and I can take more time off and go put my name put my name out there for the NWA and be a brand ambassador. My whole goal is to be a brand ambassador for the National Wrestling Alliance, where I can do interviews like this. I can go do the charity stuff because it's fulfilling, and it helps keep you grounded in a world where we're larger than life and where we think we're we're hot stuff, and it keeps you humble and it keeps you grounded, and that's important, I think, in life. So yeah.
yeah, definitely agree
Oh
with
yeah.
that stuff. Well, AJ, this has been wonderful getting to talk with you. It means a lot to me and to the listeners, viewers, watching this on YouTube, this interview on YouTube. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm at AJ Cazana across all platforms. And then of course ajcazana.com is live, and it's got a link to every single one of my social medias. It's got a link to my PayPal, Venmo if you want to shoot me some money just because. Or it's got a link to my Angry Lemonade page where you can find most of my merch. So we're cooking and booking, baby.
All right. Thank you so much, AJ.
Absolutely
More
appreciate
than
you.
welcome to come back.
Anytime, baby. You let me know.
I will. This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.